You're listening to Plant-Based Diary, the podcast where I share my thoughts and feels on all things vegan. And now you're here, let's go. Hi, welcome back to Plant-Based Diary. I hope you're good, I hope you're well. We're going to get into it straight away, and this week we are shouting out legend Fiona Oakes. Now, if you don't know of her, she is a world-class ultramarathon runner, Guinness World Records holder, and a lifelong vegan who has literally been doing the most in the most incredible ways in terms of animal advocacy and also breaking barriers in sports, but we'll get into that. So she's been vegan for quite some time, I believe like around 50-ish years. And she went vegan when she was 6 years old. But at 17, she lost her kneecap to a medical condition. And that was the point where the doctors were like, yep, you know, you're not going to walk again, let alone run. But what did Fiona do? Defied all of that and basically proved them wrong. She crushed it. She crushed it in all ways. She went on to set multiple records. She went to set multiple records in endurance running, including being the fastest woman to complete a marathon on all 7 continents, including the North Pole. Mic drop. I'm sorry, the North Pole. We don't have any excuses. I hate running in this cold weather, and she's out here running in the North Pole and like proving that it all can be done on a plant-based diet. It's incredible. Her real passion is advocating for animals. So she has a sanctuary called Tower Hill Stables Animal Sanctuary. So she founded this and she runs it alongside of her partner, and it's home to over 400 rescued animals, including horses, pigs, cows, and more. You know, a place where animals can live out the rest of their lives in peace and safety, away from the pain and suffering that they once endured. So, which leads me to my point, or the best thing, the most recent best thing that she did. She basically ran 625 miles, 25 miles every single day from December the 1st to Christmas Day. Add that all together, that's a total of 625 miles. She did 625 miles because 625 pounds is roughly the daily cost of what it takes to feed the animals at her sanctuary. So yeah, she did that, and she had a GoFundMe, and she raised over £40,000, if I'm not mistaken, £42,000 in that range. Amazing, amazing, amazing. And her fundraiser, it wasn't just about, you know, raising money for her sanctuary. It was basically raising awareness, because a lot of sanctuaries, they really struggle during the winter periods. So yeah, if you ever want to donate money, just donate it to a sanctuary. And there's so many sanctuaries out there that really do need help in terms of raising money, especially during the colder seasons. I'm going to drop the link so you can go onto her Instagram and you can follow her and her sanctuary, so you can look at her sanctuary and all of that stuff. But, you know, she's proof that when you put your heart and mind into something that you're passionate about, you can create change and you can make your voice heard. And so, yeah, you know, just by her doing that challenge, people are learning about the struggles that sanctuaries face. So yeah, just shout out to you, Fiona, man. Shout out to you. So, in my diary today, I've been thinking about Austria's announcement of the world's first vegetarian and vegan culinary apprenticeship, which is pretty cool. So we're going to be taking it to Austria. It's set to launch this year, July the 1st, but it's quite of a milestone when you think about it. So we're going to unpack why I think this is cool, and also what this can mean for the future of veganism. Growing up, me and my brother, we used to love watching cook shows, especially Gordon Ramsay's Hell's Kitchen. I don't know why. We used to love it. Love it so much. That whole just vibe of just being a chef. And then I guess as I got old, I just wasn't that interested as much, because I'm not really interested in seeing people cook animals, you know. But that did get me to think that actually there isn't a space for people that want to be a chef, but want to be a chef with plants and want to do amazing things with plants. It's quite amazing that Austria is kind of leading a charge here. The program's going to be recognized at a national level. People that graduate, they earn an official qualification, one that holds, that's respected just as much as any other culinary certification. It's not just a course with just like 1 or 2 plant-based choices or whatever. No, it's a whole program dedicated to plant-based cooking. It is put at the center. That is the focus. Is going to reflect the changes that we see in the culinary world, because like I was saying, when it comes to like that culinary space, plant-based cooking has always kind of been like overlooked in formal culinary training. And even now, a lot of culinary schools, they only touch on vegetarian and vegan cooking as kind of like a side note. And that's how it's always treated. When you go to a restaurant, it's always, treated as like a side option, unless you go to a specific vegan, vegetarian place. It's changing now, but still, it's a powerful message that they're putting out, saying that actually it's essential. It is essential. It's also the first in Europe where the plant-based movement has already been gaining like a lot of traction. But when you think of certain places in Africa, in the global south, plant-based eating is more of like a cultural tradition or rather than a trend. So Austria's kind of move to do this can inspire other countries in Europe, especially, when a lot of European countries are very meat or animal-like focused. What makes it special is that not that it just exists, but it kind of represents, because Austria is putting plant-based cooking on a pedestal. They're not just saying it's like a niche or a trend. It's like, it's a skill. It's worth mastering, and you can actually have a viable career path out of it. And it can be a game changer for the percentage of vegan apprenticeships in Europe. I personally don't know of any, but then again, I'm not a chef. I'm not in the culinary space. But when I was doing my research, I wasn't seeing any. I didn't see any. And so, it could spark initiatives in places where veganism is a bit more forward thinking, like the UK and the US, because that's where you would expect there to be like some sort of culinary apprenticeship, right? In a place where vegan is already quite forward thinking, and it creates opportunities for aspiring chefs to specialize in vegan cuisine and set a precedent. Shout out to you, Austria, for leading the path. So hopefully UK, do your thing, because it only makes sense. But I will say that I'm actually quite surprised. When I was doing my research, I was learning that actually veganism in Austria was actually growing quite steadily, even though it's a very, meat, animal-based country. But recent surveys suggest that around 10% of Austrians identify as vegetarian or vegan. And that's quite significant. Like I said, when you think about the country's like cuisine, I always thought of Austria to be a very animal heavy cuisine. But there has been a noticeable shift, especially amongst the younger generations. And, we're the generations that are more concerned about animal welfare and sustainability. I'm not going to lie, if I was into chefing like that, I would probably travel from the UK to participate in the program. I wonder if people will travel all across the world to participate in this program. Who knows? It depends whether it's lots other countries are going to follow suit or not. But, as a chef that wants to explore plants, if that's the only place, I would 100% travel there. If I can't do that in my own country, what? And then imagine coming from a place like Brazil or India, or I don't know, somewhere that isn't within Europe. You could be like part of something quite groundbreaking, be part of one of the first places that offer a culinary apprenticeship. I personally think it's breaking boundaries and pushing boundaries in the plant-based world, because I think this is what people talk about a lot. The fact that, plants, they're a second option, plants, they're secondary, etc. Well, now it's actually saying, well, let's focus on making plants taste amazing so we can show people that plants do taste amazing. Shout out to you again, Austria. For me, Austrian veganism, I don't really put together in the same sentence, but clearly they must be doing something right, because like I said, learning that 10% of the population identifies vegan and vegetarians. And then this is pretty impressive. Continue to lay the groundwork like this so people can follow suit. And I think this leads to the bigger picture overall, is that like veganism is being normalized in everyday spaces. It's so important. I'd love to watch Gordon Ramsay do a Hell's Kitchen, but dedicated to plants. I would love that so much. It might be a bit too far extreme for some people. So vegetarian, vegan, I'll take that. But I would love just to see, the culinary world accept veganism and it not be seen as like some sort of specialty. I'd love to see vegans options become the standard rather than exception. People think, do you know what? Yeah, I need to eat vegetables. I need plants in my diets. So let's go for a vegan option rather than it be just kind of like, oh, well, I guess I need plants in my diet. Nah, man, plant lifestyle should be not just accessible, but they should be celebrated just across the board. Yeah, change the mindsets. Anyone that's a young chef, hey, go for it. 100% go for it. Create the new amazing Alexis Gautiers of the world that just can do amazing things with plants, and other chefs out there. But I just really, really love Gautier. I love that restaurant so much. So that's why I talk about it. Just pave the way, be the voices of the future, set examples, inspire others, teach others. I think the culinary world does need a shift in that aspect. It really, really does, because let's evolve with the times and let's grow with things that are changing. And if you are really about that life, if you are a chef and you're about that life and cooking is what you do, cooking with plants shouldn't scare you. That's how I see it. Cooking with plants shouldn't scare you. Cooking with plants should be a challenge for you to figure out how to make it taste amazing, rather than cop out and be like, well, it's a side option, so we're not going to play around with it. If you're a chef and you play around with animals for your cooking thing, I challenge you to play around with plants and see what you can do with it. Because I'm sure you would actually be surprised with the stuff that you can do with it. Think outside the box. Don't cook it in the same ways that you think that you should cook it. Just play outside the box. I digress a bit, but that's all to say, shout out to you, Austria. And hey, if I decide that I want to change my life and I want to become a chef, Austria is the first place I'm heading to. Let's take it to If You Know, You Know, and we'll be back.
Welcome to If You Know, You Know. What am I?
Golden kernels that burst with delight, a cinema snack on a Friday night. Whole grain magic, fiber rich and lean. It helps keep your heart and digestion clean. In Scandal, Olivia holds a bowl so fine, sipping red wine, it's her favourite dime. Air pops delight, light as a feather, crispy, delicious, and bringing us together. What am I?
Stick around to find out, and don't forget, if you know, you know.
As always, I'm going to drop the answers for you at the end. So it has been quite some sad news that us Londoners are losing a vegan national treasure at the end of this month. Unity Diner, based in Spitalfields, owned by Earthling Ed and some other people that I don't know of. Don't know about. Unfortunately, Unity Diner are closing their doors at the end of this month. If anybody starts to say, oh, because veganism, no, move those comments aside. Unfortunately, cost of running a business is not easy. And if anybody that works in hospitality knows, they know how difficult it is. Just so much, especially with the cost of living and just the climate that we are in the UK. I don't know what they've been facing, but I do know from having a grocery store with my family, it's been challenging, and we have a little cafe as well, and so we know how difficult it is in this climate. So yeah, I talk about Unity Diner though because I'm going to do my culture trip, and this is the first culture trip I'm doing on video. So I go to restaurants just whenever I decide to go out with my friends or I want to go out and eat. Mostly all vegan or vegan vegetarian. And I like to give my little review on them, basically. I rate them based on 3 criteria. The taste, creativity, and is it dog friendly? Because, yeah. We're going to get into it. Taste, I'm going to give taste a solid 4.5 out of 5. Because, yeah, they do pretty well at making the food taste amazing. My favorite, and many people's favorites as well, is a tofu fish and chips. Ever since I discovered it, I just am obsessed with it. I don't know how they make it taste so amazing, but they do. So 4.5. Creativity, I'm going to give creativity a 4 as well. They do such a good job at veganizing all the comfort foods that you love. Burgers, steak and chips, tofu and chips, mac and cheese. They do such a good job. And their salads are pretty decent as well. So don't sleep on their salads. And is it dog friendly? Yes, it is. Yeah, very dog friendly. And I think that's a pretty decent rating overall. No one's telling me to do this. I just know that I have loved Unity Diner since it ever opened its doors 6-ish years ago, I believe. And yeah, it is such a really, really cool place. And so if you are doing Veganuary, if you're vegan, if you're in the area, if you don't know where to eat, I'd 100% recommend checking out Unity Diner before they close the doors, because once their doors are shut, you're not going to be able to try any of their amazing goodness creations that they have put out. Shout out to you, Unity Diner, for being such a just amazing vegan spot for people like me to enjoy, and for people that aren't vegan to be impressed by how you can actually make plants taste amazing. I know my mum, she was impressed when she tried the tofu fish and chips. Like, what? But Kira, this tastes like fish. And yeah, so thank you so much. And I think a lot of us are going to be very sad to see you leave. And before I leave you, the if you know, you know of the week is popcorn. If you have a popcorn machine, if you don't, you should invest in one because they're game changers. But if you don't, they're so simple to make. So you don't have to buy the store popcorn. Literally, just a pot, a little bit of oil, and then you let it do its thing. And you've got homemade popcorn. I'm obsessed with it at the moment, hence why I'm talking about it right now. And that's that for this week. So thank you for sticking around. Be kind, stay curious, and I'll see you